house, the maturation of our children by means of them participating in the upkeep of the house. Not necessarily helping to pay the mortgage or anything like that, but just helping them learn responsibility and really grow into young adults and then adults, responsible people. And so that line is 1-800-585-9396. I want to get started with Angela, who is in Harlington, Texas. Is it Angela? You got to help me with the name of your town there. Sorry.
Yes, it's Harlington.
Harlington. Okay, good.
Yes.
Sorry about that. It's early. It's early in the morning on the West Coast.
That's fine. Yes, it's all the way down here.
So how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm just here. I was actually listening to the topic today, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I need a lot of help in that area." Actually, I need an advice. My kids are not necessarily little; they're already 26 and 25 and 17. I tried to have them help around the house. I didn't work when they were little, so I'll do pretty much everything for them, but I'll still have them do things here and there. And right now, as they're older, sometimes I get frustrated because, I'm a single mother. I work. And I have to come home, and all the dishes are piled up, and everything is just like a mess. And I'm like the only one cleaning up, and I'm like, And I've been trying to. I don't know. It's any. I don't know. I don't even know what to do. I put signs. I tell them, hey, you need to clean up your dishes after you use them. Just different things, clean up after yourself, and it's just not happening. And I'm just, oh my gosh.
Well, you know what, Angela? I think several issues going on here. I've never been a parent, so I can't speak from that personal experience. But you mentioned that a couple of your sons are well into their 20s, and so
Yes.
what I would do is, that's really at a point where a lot of parents not only expect, if they're still living in the house, but a lot of parents expect them not only to help keep up the house in terms of just doing chores and stuff, but actually be, if they want to be living at home, to be paying a little something for that. I'm not saying you should do that, but I'm saying that's really, they're at that age where, you might just want to sit them down and just be prepared to lay out for them, look, here are the realities. If you weren't living here, this is kind of how your life would be. And you could lay out, you'd be paying, if you had a couple of roommates, you'd each be paying $700, $800, $900 a month for rent, depending on where they live. And you'd have to buy food and utilities and TV and all of the expenses, and then just simply say, look, it's the least I can ask of you. If I'm not going to ask you to pay, and you might even consider asking them, pay a couple $100 a month, but that's up to you. But just say it's the least I can expect from you to be contributing, just washing your dishes and putting your clothes away and things like that. And every now and then, Angela, you're a softie. You sound like a beautiful, sweet, warm-hearted mom. But just keep in mind, but keep in mind, as their mother, you're the one who needs to really here. I'm going to put it this way: give them opportunities to grow and to mature, because life, when mom's no longer around for them to live with and kind of pick up after them, who's going to do it? They really have to learn this stuff somehow. So I don't know if any of that is helpful thoughts or not. What do you think?
I think it will, and yes, I guess it's tough to be a parent, you're totally right, and I'll try to do that. I did try pretty much, kind of like everything, and
Sure.
I just get frustrated, and then I settle down. I'm like, okay, I just do it. I don't want to live in the mess, and it's just an ongoing thing.
Well, and I think another thing you might be worried about, Angela, is losing their love, or if you feel like you're going to be being mean to them by just simply asking them to be responsible adults, which they are now. They're not adolescents. They're not teenagers. These are adults, and they need to understand the rules of adulthood, and that includes maturity and responsibility. So if there's any sense that you're afraid that they're going to not like you, or you're going to lose their love by, holding their feet to the fire, so to speak, I don't think you should be worrying about that. I think the more important thing is for them to learn that they have to be responsible.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'll
Thanks
keep
for
on
calling
trying.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. 1-800-585-9396. Good start. Anybody else? I'd love to hear if anyone has dealt with the situation like Angela is going through right now, and maybe you'd have a word. Angela, keep listening if you can. Meantime, we're going to Andy in Albany, Georgia, listening to EWTN Radio on WTOA. Hi, Andy. Welcome to Take Two.
Hey, how are you?
Good, Andy. Great now that you called.
Well, my take on, I have a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old. Like you, I agree that they need to have some chores. I believe it builds character and it teaches them responsibilities. And when they go out in the world, they could manage their life. When they go out of college, they keep their room up. Well, at least we'll hope they do. But at least you teach that and build it in them for them to function in society. I don't give them money, but if they don't do it, and I take TV and I take stuff from them that they enjoy.
Okay. So what you're saying then in your house, it's a matter of if they do not get the chores done, then they're going to be relinquishing, giving something up that they like. Is that pretty much what you're saying, Andy?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
They have to clean the table. They have to put their stuff back. If they move something, they have to put it back where they found it, because I'm a single mother, so I have to keep up the house. And if you let them do whatever they want and don't teach them that if they dirty, they have to clean, it'll be chaos.
Mm-hmm. All right. Are you willing to share what some of the the things that you take away? My guess is going to be probably TV. Okay, I was going to say cell phone, but TV.
No, they're 5 and 6. We're not.
Oh, 5 and 6. That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, what am I thinking? I hope they don't have cell phones.
Tablet time. They get 30 minutes after homework. If they don't do what they're supposed to, they 30 minutes taken away from them. If they have a birthday party to go to and they don't do what they're supposed to do, their birthday party is canceled, because they have to learn responsibility for their action as well. So I'm a true believer on chores. I did it when I was younger, and it helped me keep my house clean now.
Right
and
on,
other
right
things,
on.
even my office, my job, it helped really be responsible in life. I believe it teaches you responsibilities.
Yeah. No, I agree. I said, you may have heard earlier in the show, Andy, I don't recall that we ever were rewarded, like financially or anything for doing chores. But boy, if we didn't do chores, there were consequences. And I'm happy. I'm so grateful for that. We didn't like it at the time. And a lot of it seemed like, there's that other scripture passage, where it says, God's discipline seems harsh and mean and all of that at the time, but it's really meant to bring us to maturity and to full growth and to love. So, Andy,
I believe it.
Yeah, you've got a great thing going there. And have you seen your kids? Are you seeing them maybe develop a little more responsibility through all this?
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes they say, oh, other people get allowances when they do chores, and I say, well, my allowances to you is to pay for this house and the food that I put, just like my mom used to tell us. I pay for everything else. If you need a pair of shoes, I'll buy it for you. That's your allowances. When you get older and then you start going out by yourself, maybe if you don't have a job, I think about it. But right now, no, absolutely no. Because like you said, when we were growing up, they didn't give us nothing. They just, not even thank you. That was your job, and that's what you had to do.
There you go, Andy. You are awesome. Thanks for sharing that take today. And your kids are going to be really a step ahead, I think, in life. And so that's just really great to hear. Thanks for sharing that from Albany, Georgia. Appreciate that. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Debbie is not here today. I'm Jerry Usher, talking about chores around the house. What is your philosophy as a family? If your kids don't pitch in, who gets stuck with it? Well, we heard from Angela earlier that she does. What about in your house? And have you had a child? Maybe here's something. Have you had a child go? Here's interesting scenario. Have you had a child go off to college? They've done chores all through their teens, and they go off to college, come home for breaks, do they kind of think, okay, I've graduated from those chores, where you're thinking, well, no, now you're home again, so you get to do those chores again? There's a lot of different angles we can look at this. 1-800-585-9396. Grab that line that Andy was on there and love to hear your take. Annette, our third A letter, a name starting with an A. Annette in Houston, listening to Take Two. Hi, Annette, how are you?
I am doing well, thank you. So chores, it's my kids are 10 and 12. My daughter's 12, my son is 10, and actually I have done many different options of chores. I've even done different amounts for different chores, such as picking up the dog poo. I thought, okay, that'll be $5 a week because nobody wants to do it. I don't even want to do it. And that didn't work. And now at this age, and it's, even if they did the chores, it would be, and this is another topic on, they're like passively kind of defying. They're like, they seem to disappear when it's chore time. But I'm like, where are they? Oh, I have to go to the bathroom, or I don't feel well. But now it's basically they do chores. Their responsibility is to keep their bathroom clean and their room clean and their laundry picked up, as well as contribute to the household. And so and they don't get paid for that. So they, help with the dishes or just whatever it might be. And so recently we kind of have just to figure out a chore that you can do. And, a couple days a week you do that chore, and then you may do something, fun. And, of course, they think it's mean. But I do pay them, though, for extra chores. So, for instance, I'm like, if you want to wash the truck, or if you want to go power wash the fence outside, or if you want to, or if they help me, maybe I have a get-together at my house and we have last-minute cleaning to do, I will ask for their help, and will you help me with this? And I pay them for that just because it's extra. But they know that, they take the trash out, they help with the dishes. My son, I said, well, what chore do you want to do? And he's like, I don't know. Like, I'll go and dust all the baseboards. I'm like, okay, perfect. So, but it is a challenge, and I tell them, hey, I need to teach you to be a good grown-up. And then I tease my son. I go, your wife is going to thank me one day that you can do this. Right. But he's funny. He's a little guy. He's like, when guys don't do chores, only the girls do the chores in the house. I'm like, what? He's like, well, Dad doesn't. I go, well, Dad does the stuff that I don't want to do or can't do, right? And so he might, does more of the things like climbing and lifting and things that I may not physically be able to do. And I said, we all contribute, we all help. But it's not an easy journey. And just really quickly this week, before they came home from school, I unplugged the TV and I kind of removed some electronics. They came home like, well, where is it? And I said, well, this week I've been asking you guys to help with the dishes, and somehow time goes on and the dishes aren't done. So I'm just going to put that to the side, and then when you choose to get that done, then we'll talk about putting all that stuff back up or putting the TV back on or what have you. So they kind of know, they get it, but it's not it's not like they're jumping for joy with chore time.
Right. Wow, you've introduced so many great insights here, Annette. Thank you. I'm going back in my mind to how human nature plays a part in this. And boy, kids can be so crafty and so smart. Like you said, when it's chore time, something, and humans do. I mean, adults do this too. I do it all the time. When something really is pressing and needs to be done, I can be a master too at thinking, well, no, I have to go do this right now. This is really important. So like you said, I loved it when you said the kids, aren't feeling well or have to go to the bathroom or something.
My son, where is he? He's in the bathroom. Another thing that they would do is my son, so my focus on their talents. My daughter is very organized and neat and detailed, and she's more of a rule follower. My son and I are very similar, and we're not that way. So sometimes my son will negotiate with my daughter and say, all right, because he is a master, like he'll clean the toilets. He's like, okay, I will clean your toilet if you clean my room or something like that. And I just sit back and let them listen, and then they start talking about money, and that's where it comes in, and that's the challenging part. They're like, well, you should pay me $100 to clean your room. I'm like, okay, guys, that's not quite going to work out. So, but it's interesting to see how they negotiate and play to their strengths. Right, because my daughter's great at organizing, and so she'll go in, and sometimes I ask, hey, I'll pay you $5 if you can help your brother, teach him how to organize his room. And bless his heart, poor guy. We call him Messy Mike because he's just, and it's just, it must be genetic. But, some people are very detailed and some people have their strengths in other areas. And so it's interesting.
Yeah, it's cute, too, how I guess you said one of your boys says, no, chores aren't for boys, they're for girls. Well, it wasn't the case when I was growing up. But, and I guess, Annette, you're going to have to offer maybe $20 or $25 for the doggy droppings because, $5 just isn't going to get it done, sounds like.
Yeah, no, there's no paying for that, so they alternate. And, of course, they always seem to miss a spot, so then sometimes I'll send them both out there. One person picks up this half of the yard, the other person picks up the other half, or you both go out, one person's a spotter. Because I don't want to go out there. I don't want dogs running in and then running in the house and jumping on my bed. Right, with stuff on their feet. So,
oh, beautiful.
Or I'll just put them in your bed. We'll put the dogs in your bed. And they're like, no, oh my gosh, okay, we'll go out and do it. So,
thanks, Annette. Beautiful phone call. Appreciate you listening to the program.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great weekend.
Love the show. Listen to it every day.
Oh, thank you, Annette. You're very sweet. I'm missing Debbie today, but we're having a great conversation, and we'd love to have you join in talking about chores around the house. Cynthia and Mary, you're going to be our next couple of callers here. And we do have a phone line that is open, 1-800-585-9396. How do you break that down in your house? Chores, how are they assigned? Do you let kids grow to a certain age before they have to participate? And then, of course, age-appropriate chores. Some of the younger kids can't do what the older kids do. Do you pay them? Is there something you take away if they don't do their chores? Join the conversation.
We know you like listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, but have you thought about bringing them to your next event? No matter what type of event you're hosting, parish mission, conference, or retreat, trust Jerry and Debbie to make it come alive. Begin the process today of taking your presentation to the next level of success. For information on booking Jerry and Debbie, visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo.
Dr. Ray Guarendi.
When I've had enough. I ask parents, when do you decide to discipline? One of the most common answers is, when I've had enough. If discipline is designed to teach, then we need to discipline before we've had enough. We need to discipline because the behavior's wrong, not because emotionally it's pushed us to our edge. Besides, when you get to when you've had enough, you're much more likely to yell and scream and say things that you have to go to confession for. So, the suggestion is discipline out of principle, not emotion. Principle means because it needs discipline, and I'm going to do it when I'm calm. Emotion means I'm going to be moved to do it just because I'm mad.
Check out EWTN's official YouTube channel.
Just follow the link on our homepage at EWTN.com or go to YouTube.com/EWTN.
Watch EWTN's live shows or today's homily from the Daily Mass.
Click the upload button to see our most recent clips.
You can also find all of EWTN YouTube content by clicking the playlist button.
It's all on the official EWTN YouTube channel at YouTube.com/EWTN.
Visit today.
Really nice to have you with me, Jerry Usher. Looking forward to having Debbie back as she is away today and enjoying hopefully a little bit of time off, a time with a friend. And so I want to remind you that we're talking today about chores around the house and really how they that duty, that responsibility of contributing to the maintenance of the house really has a very deep spiritual overtone. I read earlier, as you may have heard, from Ephesians chapter 4, starting at verse 11. I want to take a look at that when you get a chance. Ephesians 4:11 talks about his gifts were that some should be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors and teachers to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for the building up of the body of Christ. And the home is the domestic church, the domestic body of Christ, if you will. So there is a role for all to play, and we look forward to hearing from you with your take on that right now. As promised, Cynthia is next, listening to EWTN Radio on St. Bernadette Radio in Peoria, Illinois. Hi, Cynthia. Welcome.
Hey, thank you very much, Jerry. I just had to make a comment on a couple of things I've heard already. And one is that when you were growing up, you didn't get paid for doing the chores. That was just an understanding. And that is exactly the way we were growing up. 11 children in our family, and I was the eldest. And so my mother had a new baby every year, and my father was a very busy physician at a hospital that he was building. So we all had to do the chores that our mother told us to do, and that included doing the dishes, vacuuming, cleaning, making the bed, folding the laundry, doing the lawn, anything you could think of, that's what we were supposed to be doing. So we had 6 boys and 5 girls, and the boys, my brothers, learned to wash dishes just as much as us girls did. And that was the idea, that when we got older, we would know how to take care of ourselves when we went to college or got married, and that's been true ever since. So it was pretty amazing. My mother would just leave with a new baby on a Saturday, and she would say, okay, when I get back, I want to have the whole house cleaned. And then she would leave. And then that meant that I was the oldest, I was the one in charge, and it was kind of tough being, the oldest one, and then I was supposed to be telling my brothers and sisters what to do. And it always started out, as soon as she left the driveway, they were in front of the TV watching cartoons on Saturdays. So I would just go in front of the TV, turn it off, and I'd say, okay, you guys, this is a contest. The first one that gets their job done can come back and watch cartoons. And then everybody would split. So that's how we did that. And every time our mother came home, the house was completely cleaned and everything was in order. And that was just what was expected of us. So that's what we did.
Wow. I love it, Cynthia. Yeah, you mentioned, things like dishes are not just for girls. In my house, we had 4 boys and 1 girl, and dishes were only for boys. My sister, I know she did a lot of the cooking and preparation, but we had 2 teams, two teams of 2, and every other night we did the dishes. And like you said, it was just expected, and it really, I don't know if this was ever the case in your experience, but it sounds like it didn't take a lot of prompting. You offered that incentive of being able to watch cartoons, but not a lot of real prodding or pushing or anything. It was just really understood by your other siblings. This is what had to be done.
Jerry, we haven't touched on, and that is that when we were doing the dishes or making the beds, there were, like you said, we had to have 2 people, at least 2 of us, doing those things. And see, after dishes, when we were doing the dishes at night, it was a time to be talking and sharing while one was washing, the other was drying. We were having some conversation, and that was very important, either between our mother, our dad, someone was involved in that. And so I think that's maybe something we miss out on because, put everything in the dishwasher and you're gone, and then everybody goes and does their own thing, and you here and me there. We just had to do it together, and I think that's why as adults now, we are a very close-knit family. I mean, my brothers and sisters, we are very close. And I think that's because we had all of that, going on when we were growing up.
Yeah. It's an interesting point, Cynthia, because I've had the occasion, as you may have heard on the show, to be together with my family a few months ago. My sister became ill and died, and I know.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, she beautiful, beautiful, peaceful death, and I thank everyone for their prayers. But I just remember here we are all in our 50s now, and we were at my sister and brother-in-law's house, and like you said, when it was mealtime, we were like fighting over who was going to do the most, And I mean, circumstances were a little bit different than, say, a Thanksgiving get-together or whatever. But your point is a good one, and that is when you learn this when you're young, that it just produces that desire to just want to jump in and help out maybe later in life, and makes for those close family relationships, like you said.
Yes, absolutely. And it's because of the situation that I'm in. We have our 2 grandchildren that live with us most of the time, and they are now 13 and 14. And I have been doing this little discussion. You need to learn to do the dishes and clean your room and make your bed. and laundry, because when you get to school or even when you get to an apartment, you're going to have to be responsible. So they kind of look at me like, really? And I say, yep, really. That's what you have to do. So if you're going to be here living with us, you need to cooperate too. So that's part of what we do.
Right. They look at you like, life isn't like that, Grandma. Come on.
Yeah, right. Right. That's exactly what they're thinking.
Awesome. Well, Cynthia, thank you so much for your take on this. We appreciate it very much and hope you have a blessed weekend. Okay, we're going to go to, let's see, it's Leslie next, listening on Ave Maria Radio in Saginaw, Michigan. Hello, Leslie. What's your take on chores in the family?
Well, we had 7 kids, and they were in everything, all kinds of sports and dance, and so we were gone every night. Consequently, we did not have the kids do chores, and we also didn't give them an allowance, but we realized we had a deadline in raising the kids. By the time they were 18, they had to be able to fly because government says they're adults now. So what we did was had sort of like goals. So by the time they each were 6 years old, they had to be able to, and they had to do it, make a meal from scratch for us parents.
Wow.
Some of those meals turned out really funny, but they did meals from scratch. And then they had to, by the time they were 10, they had to know how to do laundry from start to finish. And at 12, my husband took each one with him on a business trip, and he showed them the ropes of how to board your plane, get your tickets, board your plane, and all that. And then on the way home, they had to guide him. Yeah, and so by the time they were 16, we didn't buy them a big bunch of clothes at the beginning of school anymore. They had to save their money. They had to save their birthday money or Christmas money and buy their own clothes. And, sometimes we would give them clothing for Christmas or for their birthdays, but mostly they had to buy their own clothes. If there was a special event like a prom, they would have to do something like peel the wallpaper off or repaint a room, and one daughter had to learn how to putty the holes, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And before they were 19, each one had to move out. They could go away to college, they could get a room with a brother or a sister, or they could rent with a cousin or something like that. And by the time the last two, there's a big span of ages, by the time the last two got to that point, they knew it was coming. They weren't getting out of it by any means. And so they had enough money for a down payment on a house.
Wow.
And so the last two were able to own their own home at 19.
Wow. Wow.
And along the way, they kind of learned how to do other things too, but we just didn't have the time to give them lessons on how to clean the house or anything. And when I moved into the family, my husband had the 5 kids, and they each had a room that they were supposed to be cleaning, but that didn't work. As soon as we got married, they dropped their brooms, and they never did it anymore. So we got the house clean. We lived in a decent place. The worst part was Terry said, if your room is so dirty that I can smell it going down the hall, I'm coming in with a gas mask, but just close the door. And that was our method of dealing with the bedrooms and what have you. But, they all turned out to be reliable kids, and, the last 2 bought their own homes right away. And we're just pretty proud of that. And I think, I don't think I would have done it better. Now we have more money. We probably could have given them allowance, but we just had different goals that they had to meet. And, they were glad to do those things. They were moments of achievement when they were able to do those things. So that's just the way we did it.
Yeah, and what I find beautiful about that, Leslie, is this wasn't it wasn't over the top in the sense of, a lot of parents really drive their kids, and this is maybe a different type of conversation, but to excel at something or to develop a skill or a talent or whatever. What you did was really, you just basically taught them the fundamentals of being able to get by in life, and they learned that at a young age. And it sounds like, man, for a couple of your kids to own their own home at 19 and all of them to be ready. Wow, and I'm sure that as adults they have just continued to impress you and make you proud.
Yeah, they really do. When one of them went off to college, he rented an apartment or a house, I think it was, and he got roomers to come in, and he was just stunned to find out they didn't know that if they made a long-distance phone call, they had a long-distance bill to pay. It was just that other kids didn't get it, but he sure got it.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, bless your heart, Leslie. Thanks for listening to Ave Maria Radio and EWTN. We're glad to have you tuned in to Take Two. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic weekend. All right, Ray, we're going to get to you. I just have to make a quick plug. There's this service called Roku. Yeah, speaking of, fancy schmancy new technologies, it's ROKU. I encourage you all to look it up online. And it's a small black box. It allows you to instantly stream channels like EWTN to your television. So basically, you just need a high-speed internet connection, a TV, and the Roku box, and that is it. So this is really a great benefit for those who live in an area where EWTN may not be on your cable system, or you just otherwise can't get EWTN. And if you go to EWTN.com/Roku, R-O-K-U. You can get details about it right there. EWTN.com/Roku will fill you in on that. 1-800-585-9396. Still time to get you on the program as we talk about chores around the house. And Ray, we're going to hear from you next in Fort Wayne, listening on Redeemer Radio. Hi, Ray. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I would like to make a point about food and the role that it plays in the Bible. Jesus fed the multitudes, brought people together with food, and I'm going to kind of flip that a little bit and go also into the word where it says that a man who doesn't work shouldn't eat. So, I mean, a lot of the things that have been addressed here are for the children that would actually listen to the parents for the most part, but sometimes you get the defiant children, the ones that won't listen, and I think love has to have a little more of a firm hand, and I think if we look at it from that approach, that for the kids that want to sit around the house and not work and pretty well think that everything should be given to them, or have the entitled mentality, that I think that a firmer hand may be needed.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, Ray, and it's one that, in my mind, and I want your thoughts on this, and I'm sure you'll probably see it the way that I do. I mean, there's got to be a little caution there when it comes to kids. I mean, I can see saying to a child, well, you didn't do your homework, or you didn't get your room clean, or what, so you don't get dessert tonight. The rest of the kids do, or something. But I don't know how far would you take that, Ray? I mean, you don't want to.
Well, I kind of look at it like this. I mean, one meal a day isn't going to hurt anybody, and I think a fast during Lent would be equal to that in most circumstances. So I mean, as a child, if we didn't do what we were supposed to, I was one of the defiant children. We got sent to bed without supper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, which of course didn't hurt me any.
Right. Yeah, I had an instance actually where it wasn't because I didn't get a chore done, but a brother and I that shared a bedroom together, we were just kind of talking at night. We were supposed to be in bed, lights out, and we were talking and not even really horsing around or anything, but just not going to sleep. And so our stepdad came out and said, well, you guys seem to have a lot of energy. Let's go out and, shovel some dirt. So it was about 10 o'clock at night, and we're out there going, well, this will teach me my lesson. I don't like this at all, let alone at 10 o'clock at night when I'd rather be in bed. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, well, that's you've added your take, Ray. Anything else you want to put on top of that?
Always stir the Holy Spirit up.
Mm-hmm.
You always hear the saying, the Holy Spirit's a lot like, chocolate milk or the quick in the milk, that it'll just sit at the bottom unless you stir it up. So, I mean,
there you go.
Rely on God, and He'll direct you.
Very good.
And then take the children to God in prayer,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great point to end on this call, Ray, just because children we're the stewards of our kids, those of us who have kids, and those are immortal, eternal souls that will live on forever in the presence of God or not the presence of God, and we want to make sure it's the former. So thank you, Ray. Appreciate your take on that. Chores around the house, 1-800-585-9396. What is your, I guess, family philosophy as a couple, as a single parent? How do your kids participate? Do you give them set assigned chores every week? Do you rotate those kinds of things? At what age do you start to expect them to do chores? So let us hear from you. 1-800-585-9396. Shirley has something to say about this. She's listening to EWTN Radio on Covenant Network in Southern Illinois. Hi, Shirley. Welcome.
Hi there, Jerry. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mine is kind of more of a comment now that I'm older and my son has grown with his own family. But I was a teacher, and you tend to be kind of busy during the week, and people, he was in sports and whatever, but even as a little kid, they can get overwhelmed with the stuff in their rooms. And right after breakfast on Saturday, we had little jelly jars, and we called them our job jars. And I had things that I had to do on tabs. He had things, I divided his room in a grid, like ABC 1, 2, 3. His bed, of course, would be one grid, but some grids hardly had anything in them. And he and I would race to see who could get done, we pulled a job and we had to do it. And when you made it that way, it organized him. It wasn't overwhelming. It was like taking small bites instead of shoving a whole piece of pizza in your mouth kind of thing. Right. But it worked for us. And right now, you should see this guy, even in his home. He and his wife are so busy, and they have 2 little ones. They do the same kind of thing with theirs, and they both pitch in. It's just an automatic routine with them. And it was easier for us just because we wanted to have fun, too, not just work all weekend. So it worked. And with my grandson, he's old enough I can do this. We'll put a song on it or some music, and I think I can get this done in 2 songs. And he said, I bet I can do it in 1. And we do that kind of stuff, just beating it, but also we're having fun with the music. It's just a quick thing out there because sometimes by the weekend you just are tired. You don't want to deal with the fighting or whining or something. And we did it. We got done, and we went out and had fun with the rest of our day. So.
Wow. Well, Shirley, it sounds like you are really zeroing in on the nugget of having this conversation today, and it's not about parents oppressing their kids and putting demands on them and wearing them out and making them do this and that. It's about formation. It is about the formation of our children who, again, as we've heard from so many of the callers today, have some have had a more success than others at going out into the world once they become adults and making it work and knowing, having that responsibility and that maturity. And it sounds like that you've got that same thing going there, and it's probably going to produce the same fruit.
Well, I came from a large family, 8 kids, and unfortunately he was a solo. God decided to send us just the one act. Mm-hmm. But it was, so he didn't have brothers and sisters to share or anything with that. Well, we kind of teamed up as kids. They're always within 14 to 18 months of each other. And so we had that benefit. He didn't. But he was so reliable, and then there were things like in the garden for extra things that he could do with weeding, whatever, to add, actually, if he wanted to earn money. And he would say, like, oh, Mom, I brought, 75 cents a load of weeds to the hogs, or something. And I made 2 1/4, but I need to go take a nap, and then I'll finish, that kind of thing. So when, then when he wanted to spend money, he'd say, well, I'd like this. I said, well, you've got money now. And he'd think really carefully about, how important it was that he had to have it. And he just was not a spender. He's wise with his money today. But the chores thing was the one that was key. So many people just get so, they're just worn out by the weekend. And if anyone can kind of make it fun, and we kind of were a competitive bunch anyhow, so racing was easy. So, but it just, it's out there. If anyone kind of needed something like that it brings the family together, too. Each one can have their job jars if that's how they have to do it. So,
yeah, this is This is what we love about this show, Shirley, and all of our listeners, is you bring so much wisdom and so many experiences and insights that our other listeners can take away. And Shirley, I have no doubt there are parents with young kids right now who are probably thinking, hey, that's something I might want to try to implement as our kids grow older in our family. So, Shirley, great job, and I wish you a blessed weekend as well. As we move along, probably going to close out the show with Mary, who is in Melbourne, Florida, listening to EWTN Radio on Divine Mercy Radio. Hello, Mary. Glad you called.
Yes, good afternoon. One of the things I haven't heard yet is about teaching children to give. And I'm one of 11 children, and I did receive an allowance. It wasn't very much. I'm going to be 64 next week, and I think I got like 50 cents a week. But also, of that 50 cents, 10 cents of it I gave into the church collection every week as my way of giving back. Also, for when my grandchildren, my children went a little further. They gave them an allowance, and then they had 3 piggy banks. One was for saving, one was for spending, one was for giving, and they put money in each one of them, and then every so often they would see what was in that giving bank, and then they would, whether they bought food for an animal shelter or they bought gifts to give to some child in a hospital or a need of somebody, they have been learning since they were 2 years old that it's important that they give also. So I thought that's a really important lesson to learn at a very young age growing up.
It is, yeah, and you're right. We have not gotten into that, Mary, on this particular program here today. And so, we did that show on allowance here a couple of weeks ago, and that really wasn't introduced into it either. So I think you bring up something very, very important. And how do you feel that this has maybe borne fruit in your life or in your kids' life?
It's been really important. I think it started with my parents instilling that belief that we're here to help serve other people. And even as little children, we can help out, and that we have a duty as Christians to be of service to others. And it bears fruit because a year ago when my grandson was turning 8, and his mother said to him, well, what do you want to do next? It was like a month away. What would you like? You could have a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, or we could have something at the house, invite your friends, or if you want to, we could, instead of having a birthday party, we could buy presents and toys and then maybe take it to the hospital and give it to some boy or girl who's sick that would help them feel better, or maybe for them for their birthday. And my grandson immediately said, oh, I want to buy presents for children.
Oh, boy.
It immediately came out of him.
Wow.
So you're bearing fruit when a 9-year-old, instead of having his own little birthday party where he gets a bunch of presents, would rather buy presents for somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt, no doubt. That is what makes you beam with delight, I'm sure, and pride. Yeah. A good sense of pride of knowing that your efforts have paid off. But when you see that kind of maturation, especially in a young boy like that, boy, Mary, that's fantastic.
And I know at our church, every week the children come forward and bring cans of food for the poor, mm-hmm. and that's another thing that you could use your allowance. Part of your allowance is to help. It's not mommy and daddy buying stuff and me taking it up front. It's the child is earned. They get that allowance and they're taking money that they earned. It's coming from them. It's not coming from their parents, and they're being able to give. So they're taking ownership of that giving, and they're learning it at such a young age. I just think it's a wonderful idea.
It is. It is, Mary. Well, you will be our last caller today. I wish we could get to more, but we're just running out of time, and you have really put a nice little bow and ribbon on top of this episode of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Thanks, Mary. Enjoy your day, your weekend there in Melbourne, Florida, and keep listening to Divine Mercy Radio. Hopefully, I think Debbie will be back on Monday. Looking forward to that. Maybe just a last thought on this whole idea of chores. We've talked so much during this hour of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie about how it's really should lead to the growth, the formation, the maturation, the development of the minds and hearts of our young people, and should not be really something that is a tremendous burden to them. And a lot of our callers have shown how they've kind of made it not so much a burden, but even kind of fun. And I'm just reminded of Isaiah 42:3, a bruised reed he will not break, and a dimly burning wick he will not quench. So let's be firm but also gentle with our kids. We've been entrusted with them by God, and you're all doing a fantastic job. Thank you for listening to Take Two. And coming up on Monday, we're going to talk about body language. We speak with words. We say a lot with words, but what do your actions say about you? Your body language, the way you just really kind of, nonverbal communication, I guess. That's what we're going to talk about on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed weekend, and we will talk to you Monday. God bless.